Raise your horns high and let your spirit flow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show. Feel the rush, let the loudness grow. It's the classic metal wrap-up show.
Hey, there we go. It looks like it does have a cap for about 40 minutes on the meeting, but that gives us enough time to do a talk.
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Classic Metal Wrap-Up Show. I know my brother Wendell is probably prepping for his big Super Bowl halftime party, but we have, in my and Andrew's estimation, a classic metal legend right here in RH Metal on our show, and it's been a long time since we heard from RH Metal on the CMS, I believe, right? How long has it been?
It's probably about as long as it's been since anybody's called me that. That brought back some, well, I don't know about warm and fuzzy, maybe in the sense of a heartburn, warm and fuzzy. I thought that I had killed that persona, but yeah, man, it's been close to 20 years, as strange as that sounds to say, I guess.
Yeah. But that when you when you have a 30-year radio legacy with a classic metal show like Wendell Neely does.
Yeah, or Eddie Trunk at eddietrunk.com.
Yeah.
Eddie Trunk on Hair Nation every Tuesday on the Eddie Trunk app.
So thank
Sorry,
you for setting this up.
Do what?
Thank you for coming on and setting this up with us.
Oh, man, thank y'all for asking me. I was glad to do this.
Yep. So we were talking earlier in the week because I found it funny that when I found recently to go back and re-listen to it, your first appearance on the CMS, it was actually the anniversary date for that was yesterday, but like 18 years ago or something like that.
Yeah, just it's crazy to think more time has passed since that happened than I had lived up to that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's insane.
And I also wanted to point out that we do this show because obviously Wendell doesn't let you have any kind of an opinion that challenges his on the CMS. Chris kept telling me to call in and discuss anything I had to discuss with the doc and bias with Wendell. I tried calling in, Wendell wasn't answering. Nate tried calling in, Wendell wasn't answering. Nate finally got through like almost a year and a half later, but that was only because he found out that we were going to launch this show as a result to him not answering our calls. But I wanted to point out that, Ryan, you were actually the pioneer of podcasts that challenged Wendell, because I remember when you were 14 or 15, you pissed off a fucking 50-year-old man. So the ages there are important. A 50-year-old man got pissed off over a 14-year-old kid. Says a lot about the maturity level with that guy. But
well, honestly, I can't blame him a bit for getting pissed off at that 14-year-old kid, because a lot of people did. That was y'all probably don't know it, but I actually had that same kind of run-in with I don't know how many shows back then. I was an annoying little shit back then. And it definitely when you have to have the real world hit you right between the eyes at a certain point, thankfully I kind of straightened out after a while. The problem was when I was about 12 or 13, I had this fascination with radio and wanted to do something in the broadcasting world. So I started listening to like Opie and Anthony, Howard Stern. The problem was some of the first things I heard from Howard Stern were like the Richard and Sal bits, where they'd like start some chaos in the studio or do prank calls or whatever. That's the worst material that a 12-year-old can get a hold of when they've got a microphone. So that was just totally downhill after that. But yeah, it's been, I guess, probably 15, 16 years or so since even that happened. But yeah, I don't blame either one of those guys for getting pissed off at me back then. I would have too.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, RH, I'm a 47-year-old, well, now 48-year-old man as of last month with a microphone, and I still act like Richard and Sal and fuck with people. I
Well,
still
to
find
an extent, you have
yes.
to. I mean, you got to have fun with it. Lord knows it doesn't really matter if you have fun with it and do what you want to do. The way that the radio industry is now, I won't even get on that soapbox, but I've got a lot of friends who seems like more and more of them every day are just getting blindsided and fired from some of these massive corporations that care a little more about lining their own pockets. But that's a different story for a different time. But yeah, you got to have fun with it. Uh,
We can
yeah,
broach
for
that. I
sure.
mean, back when Bill Clinton signed the act that changed all the communications, let them all merge together, become big conglomerates, it fucked everything up. And not a single person in this country will ever look back and go, "Hey, Bill, that was a stupid fucking idea. Let's change that." I don't know why.
Well,
They always,
and it's happened with almost every other industry since then, if you've noticed, including the one that I'm in. It's certainly all over the music business. What that law essentially did is legalize monopolies. It
yes.
didn't look that way at the time, and everybody thought it was just isolated to broadcasting, but it set that legal precedence for uh, other issues that would come up later on. So, anything like that is bound to happen at some point, but you always hate to see it happen while you're still around to kind of reap the not so great rewards of it.
And that has now led to podcasting thriving because some are still associated with some conglomerates when they're the Joe Rogans of the world. But a lot of us independent guys are just throwing shit out there and just having fun with it. And we just don't even care anymore. And if you got a microphone and a computer internet connection, you don't really need, clear channel communications to approve my fucking message, which, they would never let a guy like me in the building in the first place. It took me off
Well,
the
and
air.
they've moved away from having on-air personalities. There are a lot of
Yeah.
stations that either don't have any on-air personalities at all, or it's all uh, people that are piped in, and you'll hear the same DJ as you drive across. If you drive into 2 or 3 different markets on the same day, you'll hear the same playlist and the same DJs because it's all a national thing instead of it being localized. And I don't understand why that mistake was ever allowed to happen, because there's no way that you can get away with making something national feel local once people find out about it. And it started, I think, with the morning shows, because a lot of these stations realized that they could pick up whatever the big hot morning show was for their network or their particular format. And once that started, that kind of got the wheels turning, I think, where they realized, okay, well, we're piping in this morning show. It's not really costing us anywhere near what we were having to spend whenever we just had our own personalities in there. And we can still sell our own local ads during certain spots of that. And it was just a big snowball, man. I hate to see it because radio is still a great format. I've been very fortunate that there are still a lot of independent stations in the country that get to do things their way and get to build their own playlist. And it doesn't matter if you're on a record label or not. If they like the song and they want to throw it in the mix, they do. So there's still some of that there. And I wish people would support it a little bit more, but I don't think most people really know what's going on. They've got other things going on. They've got their own lives to worry about. They don't really have time to be that concerned about what's going on a radio station. So it's sad, but it just kind of is what it is.
It's definitely becoming a niche market if you want to listen to audio only, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you got, Andrew?
No, I'm just listening, taking all the information in. But I agree because I haven't listened to commercial radio in years, and it's because it's the same fucking thing no matter where you go.
Yeah, and there was one person in the 90s who said this was going to happen. His name was Ron Paul, but no one would listen to him. And he kept telling them, I'm going to vote no on this and vote no on that and vote no on this and no on that because conglomerations, big monopolies are going to come in here and take over this whole thing. And mom and pop are out the door. And no one listened. And unfortunately, I believe in the lens of time becomes more and more true the more the shit he said back then because nobody was listening.
Well, and the
So,
problem was he said no to a lot of things, and
and that made them all feel
nobody
like
in
yeah.
yeah, nobody in any line of work, whether it's the federal government or radio or anything, like somebody that says no a lot.
Yeah.
Really, they don't like anybody that says no at all, but certainly not on a regular basis. So it was
Yeah.
always going to take having, just like anything nowadays, it's always going to take having somebody who is kind of a mainstream figure in any political party to latch on to something for it to really get anywhere. If it's somebody who's been the opposition, and even within their own party has been in opposition, it's not really going to go anywhere, unfortunately.
Yep. Yep, just like me, I'm tuned out on the CMS because of my dissenting opinions about Don Dawkins' voice. So
Well,
I'm not allowed to
man,
say these things.
yeah, the docking stuff is kind of man, it's sad to see, but I kind of understand why so many people that are in the docking camp have been kind of guarded about that. Because man, it's when you start to see somebody who you know personally going through, kind of a for lack of a better term, a degenerative phase where they're no longer the same person they were with the same abilities that they had years ago, and this person that you know is clearly going through something, and you get a little bit guarded about that. I've been guilty about that with some people I know, but yeah, man, it sucks whenever you're in the public eye, even if, like, I'm on the lowest end of the totem pole imaginable, but when you choose to put yourself in the public eye, anything you do can and will be used against you, I guess, as the old phrase goes. But yeah, it always sucks whenever you're in a point where you feel like you're not able to give 100% and there are other people seeing it. And you don't want to stop either, because you just feel like you're maybe that close to figuring out a way to keep going. But man, Dockin came through, I guess it was maybe close to a year ago, and they played a casino in Arkansas. And I had some friends that went to the show, and they said that they had to have a couple of people help him on and off stage, and said he just wasn't looking too good. And man, I hate to see that. I really do. I don't know what the answer is, because I know if I were in that position, I wouldn't want to stop, because it's something you love to do, and you don't want to ever think that you might have to throw in the towel. But man, I don't know what the answer is on all that. It sucks as a fan, because we're seeing
Yeah.
all this music that we've invested so much in, and it's all going away in one way or another. Whether it's, our favorite musicians going through these issues where they can't really do what they used to do the same way, or if they're retiring, or whatever the hell is going on with Twisted Sister. Yeah, I still haven't quite figured that out. But man, there's
I
just
smell something rotten in Denmark more than just health concerns by the way it was worded. And by the way, JJ's kind of talking about me and Eddie are going to talk about what we can still do. I'm like, well, so you're going to get a new singer and go be Twisted Sister without D? What?
that's
I'm
the
just
one
saying,
band where I really think it
left the
can't
door
go
open.
over. Yeah,
I
that's the one band that I just
Yeah.
don't think that you could really. I mean, of course, if you've got the name, you can find promoters that'll book it for a certain price, and you can go make some money with it. And legally speaking, if you own the rights to the name, then I guess you're cool to do that. But from a fan acceptance point, I don't think they're still going to have the same slot at Vakken if D's not the front man. And
No,
I
they
guess
would
that they
have
went
to
ahead
do
and pulled
this.
all of those dates.
They'd have to do this a whole different way. They'd have to have D on board and do a search for the new Twisted Sister singer with a contest, and have D sitting there judging with JJ and Eddie and make it a thing. Sliding some guy in there who's not D Snyder when it's that iconic of a friend. Like someone's not going to slide in and become Mick Jagger either. It just doesn't work like that when those kind of when they're the face of the band. And so yeah, there's no. But it just made me feel weird. The statement was weird. The way they said that he stepped out of the band or whatever, rather than saying we'll wait for him to see if his health gets better. It was just like, nope, he's out. And I was like, what? And then JJ's coming on saying what he said yesterday or the day before on his social media about how they're going to talk about where the future of Twisted Sister can or can't go. He kind of said maybe it can't go anywhere, but he kind of also left it like maybe me and Eddie would talk about this. And I was like, well, about what? You already got rid of the animal. Now you got no Snyder. What the fuck is this?
yeah.
And the weird thing to me is, oh, go ahead. Sorry, I've cut you off about half a dozen times. I'm sorry, brother.
You're fine. What I was gonna say is, yeah, especially since they have at least two out. Well, and I'll explain why I say two. Um, they have at least two albums where D is the only member on the fucking cover, and obviously Stay Hungry is like B1, but then like Come Out and Play, if you had the vinyl of that, it had that pop up lid with, and it was D. So he's the only fucking one on the cover. So I don't really know how you can do it.
Because JJ was there first, and JJ owns it.
And I get
It's
that, but
JJ's operation because he started the band. The band was around before. There was lineups before D ever joined. There's pictures of them, but that doesn't mean they were good. It just means that they were in some fucking pizza pub in the corner, fucking dancing around, trying to be New York Dolls wannabes or whatever they were doing. It looks like.
I've seen pictures of that lineup, and I can tell you that Wendell Neely would not approve of that lineup, if you catch my drift.
Not at all. They're too swishy. They're light in their loafers.
Well, and Dee was the primary songwriter on pretty much all that stuff, I think, and he sold his publishing a few years ago. So now I guess you'd be in the same position that you would be in even if he were in the band, where, you know, another company would be getting a chunk of the money for the use of the material. But still yet, I just don't really know how that works. It would be one thing if they had been active all this time, if it was a band that did 100 dates a year and was still recording new material, or even not recording new material. That doesn't always matter nowadays. But if it was a band that was still out there every single year doing dates, then I guess I could understand why there would be a thought of, we're going to consider how we move forward. But moving forward before the thing even starts back up, nobody really expected them to get back together when they said that they were going away. And even at that point, they were only doing like, what, maybe a dozen shows a year, just little select dates. So again, every year when they would book some more shows, that in itself was kind of a surprise. So it didn't really shock me after AJ died when they said, we're going to do one more run and call it a day. It also didn't shock me when they said that they were going to get back together for this 50th anniversary, because again, you know, the money talks. Everybody's got their price, whether they want to admit it or not. And you can make your mind up as a fan if you want to go or not. I wasn't thrilled about the fact that Mark wasn't involved, but I know he and Dee have had issues that probably never really got resolved, and some things can't be resolved. But, you know, before it even starts back up,
well, that's just normal business,
why even
Andrew.
talk about continuing, you know?
Okay, so I'll tell you why. Because Dee Snider sold his publishing, which got him a big lump sum of cash. So Dee Snider really doesn't give a shit about playing live or just having fun because he's got the money in his pocket. JJ doesn't. JJ lives in Manhattan. JJ has a fucking place in the most expensive real estate market probably in the United States of America. And I don't care even if he owns it. I guarantee you the cost and the overhead to live in New York City is fucking massive. And so when he doesn't get that big chunk of publishing, when his doesn't get that huge check because he didn't write all these songs, his idea is, well, how do I make money on Twisted Sister? Re-release shit that can only generate so much income, or take these offers that are in my email box to play live. That's what him and Eddie make the most money doing. So that's the reason why they're going to consider it, because D can walk away with his 50 million for his publishing, but JJ and Eddie didn't get shit. And so they're like, where's our 50 mil? Okay, well, the only way we can get our 50 mil is go play gigs. Well, let's get on the road, Haas. Oh, I don't want to play gigs. I'm the lead singer of Twisted Sister. Well, guess what, motherfucker? I gotta have a fucking paycheck. You know, that's just what it comes down to. I'm sorry, JJ, I don't care how he taunts himself. He doesn't have Gene Simmons' money in the bank. And if you don't have Gene Simmons' money in the bank, you're not living in Manhattan year to year to year to year for long. Let me just tell you, it's not happening. So I just question, I think all of that is generated based upon that. That's their source of income. That's how they can make so much money every couple of years that then generates enough in the bank account to hang around for a year or two and chill out and watch TV. And then when they get low, him and Eddie look at each other. Hey, I got to play some gigs. I'm having to do too many signings. Come on, let's figure this out. Okay, let me call D. And D's go, I don't want to do any fucking gigs. I'm out with Brett. You know, it's that whole thing. It's the same. I'm telling you, I'm in a band. I know how it works. I have a front man. I know how it works. And that's what the front men are, a whole different breed than the rest of the guys who slug their gear in and out. And so, and I'm not knocking my front man. He's a great front man, but that's why he is the way he is, because he has to have certain things be the right way for him to get up there and be the guy singing all, you know, in our case, my band, 80% of the songs. So, I just see I think that's where all this generates. I think when a Hellfest emails JJ and says, we have $50,000 fucking dollars for Twisted Sister, JJ's eyes light up and he's on the phones making calls. Well, AJ's gone and Animal wants to shoot people and now D's got a heart attack. Let me see what I can figure out here. You know,
well,
allegedly.
Well, but that's the thing. Had they not canceled the dates, then I would understand all of that. But they said, again, they said they were canceling all the dates they had booked. So if those are off the table now, are you starting from scratch, knowing you may not get the same offers you just had?
I'm telling you, he is considering, if I can find a front man and get D to go like this. I'm too unhealthy. I got a heart problem. I can't do it. If he can get D to bless it, like CJ gave the mic to Nate Peck or whatever, then I guarantee you JJ French will replace every motherfucker in Twisted Sister if that's what he had to do to keep it on the fucking stage, making him dough. He's a businessman.
I just don't see why you would cancel all the dates that you had, though, because those probably are going to pay better than whatever new dates you could
Agreed,
put
but
together.
those dates probably were under contract for D. Snider to be on stage.
Yeah.
Well, it could have been.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I think the animal got cut out, because once you
Well,
start signing actual contracts, which the money is now going to get divided by the people on this contract, they were like, we can cut out one guy and take his 25% or 20%. We're doing that.
if they go and find a new singer, they might bring the animal back.
Possibly his
And
issues
then,
definitely seem to be with D. And when you watch the interviews, what does Mendoza say? He says, because D won't go make me earn money and play gigs.
and then they can have D say whatever they want while Mendoza stands off camera like this.
Dyeing his hair with the little stuff you
Yeah.
put on the shoe polish.
All right,
He's
D.
a strange guy.
Gotta
I got to get on stage. Let me draw my hair in here.
As somebody who has met Mark Mendoza in person before, I just want to say for the record, I think he is a very nice man.
Oh, he's a
Please.
wonderful Bills.
Please do not hit me, sir. I met him
I love
at,
the animal.
Yeah.
Andrew, did you go to Rocklahoma 2009 when they did Stay Hungry, the full record front to back?
I did not. I didn't go to Rocklahoma until 2014, but they
Okay.
were there. Actually, they were there. It was right before AJ died too, so I did get to see that original line.
Nice. I didn't get to
That was the first time I saw their last tour with makeup and costumes and their first tour without. I saw them 2 years in a row. But the 2009 show, a friend of mine was running one of the radio booths at Rocklahoma. And whenever Twisted Sister, well, most of Twisted Sister came in, I think it was, I don't think that D or JJ either one did it. I think it was just Eddie, Mark, and AJ. But Mark came over because he recognized somebody who I guess had been to a lot of the shows on that particular run. And I was like, I don't know, 13, 14, something like that. And I'm looking up at this 9-foot tall guy and going, excuse me, sir, could you sign my CD? And I didn't think that he heard me at first because this other woman was still talking to him. So I said, Mark, can you sign my CD? And he goes, just a minute, sir. And I went, don't hit me.
Yeah, no, he's that's why I was disappointed that they were leaving him out. I was like, what the hell? You got 7 on drums, so that kind of is like the guy who was in when AJ wasn't in, but then you got rid of the animal. Why bring the animal? Then to me, that's still kind of at least like 5 dudes who are all tied in some ways to Twisted Sisters history here. That seemed like an opportunity, but they were like, I'm just, 7 probably was like, hey, give me a couple $1,000s a night, I'm in. And then Mark was like, no, I'm Mark, I want my fucking 25% or whatever he's asking. They were like, fuck that. We'll get a
Well,
facelift.
and if you're one of the principal members, then yeah, no reason to sell off any less of your cut than you have to.
And I agree with that. And that's why I was like, man, this goes back down to D wanting a larger cut and them not wanting to have to split the loot 4 ways. And this is a fucking shit fest. And this is why I'm not going to support this, because this is not being legitimate anymore. And then, honestly, that's kind of like how, if you think about it, Twisted Sister made some good albums, whether D was right, but they were kind of a band, and then D kind of really took over, and then it kind of fucking nosedived again. It's because the guy's fucking ego just goes out of control. And as Andrew pointed out in a video to me in chat the other day, D said he wouldn't do any of this just a couple of years ago on every interview in the world, slamming every motherfucker who comes back for a paycheck. And I think very clearly that's what they were coming back for. So
also, I wanted to say that Joey, in my opinion, is the guy they should have got when AJ died in the first place. It should have never been important.
Yeah, agreed. Just
well, but there was a name value to that, and I guess AJ had mentioned that Portnoy would kind of be his backup, the same way that AJ was Portnoy's backup in Adrenaline Mob. So I guess it was, they were close in that way.
Friends,
and I mean, there are worse things in the world than seeing Mike Portnoy play drums for any band.
Yeah, for sure.
I know.
Oh, and I want to go on the record. So with the back to the Don Dawkins thing. So the reason why this became an issue is because if you don't, I don't know how much CMS you listen to, RH, but they have gone over the last 10 or 15 years to just bash repeatedly DLR, Vince Neil, Axl Rose, Mark Slaughter, Mark Torian. They go through frontman and just dissect the audio and destroy them. And so my only question was, how come we're not dissecting audio of Don Dawkins live? let's get to something that really doesn't sound good. You guys, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think DLR's at the top of his game either. It sounds pretty shitty, and he's fucking doing random shit that has nothing to do with singing the songs. But to call that out and then not, and then the answer, RH, was, well, that's Wendell's friend. And I said, cool. Well, then Wendell can sit by the side while me and Aiken and Andrew here chop it up about how shitty Don Dokken is. And we'll just call it. And then, no, can't do that either. Well, so, okay, so Don Dokken's a golden goose. It can't be touched for some reason that Wendell set forth. What the fuck?
Wendell, because I really believe, because he's the one that told me to call him, that Chris was ready to have that conversation.
I think so too. I think, yeah, because Chris has hinted at it a few different times on the show that there is someone that we know that's not singing good, and he said Don doesn't sound good, and then Wendell goes, well, he's doing the best he can.
Yeah, and Chris had already mentioned me a few times on the show in the weeks leading up. Matter of fact, the first time was I ran into Ryan at the Def Leppard Motley Crue show back in 2020.
Yeah.
I told Chris about that, and Chris made that their paid segment was all about me and him. And the fucking.
Wait, it was a paid segment. Where's my cut of that?
Segment, right? Yeah, exactly.
I also want a paid segment somewhere too. The one time I called in gets put behind a paywall at some point in time, and then they're like, but we don't want this guy on the air. We'll take the shekels for him being on the show. They're crazy. And honestly, this show was kind of launched just because I kept feeling like, God damn. I mean, they kept saying, you get your own microphone, you do your own show, pal, and see what kind of show you can do. And I said, well, okay, fuck it. They're calling me out. I'll get a microphone and do a show, and I'll dress up as Wendell and pretend that I'll make myself look like I'm in Wendell's studio. I'll take over his whole life and make him second guess that fucking statement.
Stay on his brother.
Yes. So I think to this day, now I'm just doing it because it's fun, but I think it's still an annoyance to him personally. I mean, Aiken doesn't seem to mind. It's sensitive Neely.
Well, but Neely's funny because he tries to play it off like it doesn't bother him, but it clearly does. Because even whenever you watch the segment where you called in, first of all, he was dumbfounded how you knew all his family members' names and all that, because he doesn't understand that it's all public record, and all you have to do is Google Wendell Neely.
And it shows up.
The fuck up.
It's because he's so socially media inept, apparently, he claims. I mean, I think he looks at stuff on the scroll on a burner account, but I don't think he interacts, and I don't think he knows how to interact. I think he's a fumbler, like the lady said, and so he just doesn't really know. I mean, a lot of the CMS, I think the reason why there is no CMS when Aiken's not there is because as soon as Aiken's not there, he can't, like to me today, I can't run a computer. There's no Ruben. Where'd Ruben go? You know?
We should know how to do it. He can't.
No, he can't. And that's why he goes to spinning the tunes, and I'll just play some songs because I can do that in Studio A and no one can stop me.
So I can play songs off Spotify and say exclusively here on your classic metal show. Like you can hear it nowhere else, only on the classic.
So looking back though, RH, I have to ask you a question. Did you ever think it was weird that this guy was taking such an issue with a teenage kid?
Well, at the time, I thought that it was a little strange until I realized just how much of an annoyance I was. And
you
again,
funny,
I had that
I thought you were funny.
with, well, maybe to a select few at certain points, but yeah, it it didn't take long after the fact for me to realize that in every single case, I was probably the issue every time that I had some sort of a run-in with somebody. Now, there were a couple of times where I got into it with somebody where it was just kind of out of the blue. But again, anytime that you're putting yourself out in the public eye, regardless of what level you're on, even if you're at the bottom of the totem pole, if somebody finds it and decides to take issue with it over something, that it just kind of is what it is. But, you know, in that case, there were a lot of times I think where they didn't even answer the phone when I called in because they just knew that I had some sort of bullshit that nobody probably wanted to deal with. So it, oddly enough, was probably a little less so on their show than it was on some of the other shows I used to call into that for some reason never thought about not answering the phone when somebody would call in. I don't know why, but yeah, but good on you, man. You started, you know, if they told you to start your own show and you did, good on you, man. That's the way to do it. And really, if there's anything, I think everybody who's started any kind of a show, especially if it's not on a, you know, a mainstream radio station or anything like that, if it's a podcast, I think everybody would say the same thing, that they did it because the kind of show they wanted didn't exist, or the things they wanted to talk about weren't being talked about. So Good for you,
Okay.
man. That's the way you should do it. And
Yeah.
Andrew, years ago, like when we first got connected, was talking about doing a show, you know, probably 10, 12 years ago. And it's really, I've always thought Andrew should be doing a show of some kind because he's just a natural for this stuff, has the
Thank you.
knowledge and has the outgoing personality and all that. So I'm glad y'all are doing what you want to do, brother. Good on you.
You're gonna get
Yeah.
me
And
making a smug Wendell look.
well,
Do
I
what?
was trying.
I said I'm gonna do the smug Wendell look because I got my ego stroked. I'm gonna be like,
Well, and I didn't really like, I mean, we had our issues, but I wasn't really trying to be, I think he thinks there was some evil intention, but there really wasn't. Evil became because of his love for evil Knievel. But
I'm okay.
it was also because like, I really, I named it we called it the wrap up show. That my idea was because like the Howard Stern wrap up show, they were the B show. They were the one you went to when Howard was off the air
Yeah.
and you had something else and still have guys talking about the same kind of shit. That was my idea, but they were just like, I think Aiken doesn't care. He's kind of sent some signals and some videos that he's okay with us doing what we do, but Neely took it real personal, like I was stealing his, entire existence.
we know for a fact we've been told and shown screenshots that Neely fucking hates us.
Calls us douches all the time. Those wrap up show douches.
Those wrap up show douches, but then just tries to play it cool, like, well, it doesn't bother me. And it's like, Wendell, there's a lot that bothers you, and there's a lot that has always bothered.
Well, I was going to say that if he had an issue, he would probably say it. But I guess if you've already if you've already heard about it, then
It's behind the scenes. He wants to keep it off the air, which is fine. But we keep going on the air and just talking about stuff, and he probably gets, why are they talking about that on their show? But it's all good. So we only have a few minutes left because Zoom's telling me 10 minutes, or was 10 minutes ago, about 5 minutes ago. It's got about 6 minutes left. So I have a question for you, RH, before you leave me today. If I was to say those top 5 singers out there that are just the drizzling shits, I mean, they're just not, you would say, hey, this is the farewell tour because it's just not getting any better. Wrap it up. Who would be your picks in that? Like who have you seen or heard lately that you're just like, what are you doing? Why are you out there?
oh man,
Or just give me 2 or 3. See, for me, I love Dawn, and I don't even have a problem. I keep saying this with his band per se; they sound like they're playing the songs fine. It's the detuning for me that draws me down, and then his lack of even trying to sing. It's just like he's talking all the time. I'm like, what is he doing? He's just like staying in the mid range and just speaking, whispering into a microphone.
well I don't know what how they're arranging it right now because I saw him one time back about 8 or 9 years ago, I guess. And at the time, the way they were doing it was since he couldn't sing the register that he sang on the record, he was taking that lower part underneath that would normally be the part above on the record. But he sang that an octave lower, and then Chris would sing his part, and then Mick would come in on what was left. And so it's still the vocal blend was still there, and you still had all the parts. So that I'm cool with. Like I said, I don't really know if that's the way that they're still trying to do it or not, but man, I'm just trying to think. I think that most of the ones that I would probably say just as a fan that I really wouldn't go see at this point have kind of taken their names out of the hat. So I'm trying to think, I mean, as much as I love Van Halen and I love both eras of the band, David Lee Roth, if he wanted to, could sing those songs like the record.
I agree.
If he wanted to.
Yeah.
I just think that he kind of gets this vibe like it's more of a backyard party and he's kind of the Toastmaster General, I guess, so to speak.
That's exactly what he thinks he is.
And I had a friend who went to see him this past year, and the whole time on stage he's got this red Solo cup, and it just seemed like he was the MC of a big party. And I guess that vibe kind of works to an extent, but when they did that first reunion run, I saw him on the second leg of it, and he actually sounded good. It sounded like Van Halen to me. I just don't really know why he's not continuing to do that. So that personally is not really for me. I love Robert Plant, and I saw him once with one of his solo projects, and it was really good. I don't even know that I could say that it would be time for him to be done, though, because to his credit, he knew the day that he lost that upper register, he knew that he couldn't do those songs like that anymore. And so most of the time, he doesn't even touch any of the Led Zeppelin stuff. But when he does, he completely changes the arrangement of it to match whatever group of musicians he's put together at that point. And it's kind of advertised as do not expect a Led Zeppelin experience. Expect a Robert Plant show in the vibe that he's currently going for. And if he does some Led Zeppelin stuff, it will sound like this. So even that, I guess I don't have much of an issue with. But man, I don't know. It seems like most of them have kind of thrown in the towel that I would think of. It's really a case by case thing. I just wonder how long it's going to be before we start seeing like what happened with the 50s bands, where it's all guys that are in their 20s, and it's just the officially sanctioned Quiet Riot, the officially sanctioned White Snake, or whatever.
Twisted Sister.
Well,
that may be the first one. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm also, and this is my morbid mind things. One of these days, there's going to be a guy on stage and be like, da, 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 he's going to go, whew, and they're going to go, holy fuck, he died live on stage. That
actually happened. There's a guy named Colonel Bruce Hampton. He played in the movie Sling Blade. He played the guy that wrote the words, and I go kind of off center and I go dot, 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 leaving his soul. That guy. He was actually an artist named Colonel Bruce Hampton. He would have these big jams every year, and he died on stage. And they didn't know it at first because he fell down, but that was something that he used to do as a shtick. Like when the music really moved him, he'd just lay down on the stage and listen. So he goes down, and everybody's just smiling, thinking, oh, there he goes. This is one of those moments. He was gone.
And that's what I'm afraid. That's why I was trying to say with Don. I think if he has the health problems and this, that, we were even suggesting maybe doing some acoustic performances where the down tuning and just him and an acoustic guitar might fit his voice where it's at better now. But I have the complete concern that one day Don Dawkins will be up there, into the fire.
Man, I would hate to see that.
And then you'll hear, "Oh my God! Somebody!
Get the jumper!"
I think that would be one time where everybody would know this is not part of the show.
Yeah. So we've always said that's all we were asking for was Don to kind of go out more gracefully and find a way to kind of, ease out of it rather than be on stage just like Frankie Valli. We were always talking about how he's lost on stage.
Now there's the number one answer right there. Since you brought that up, that is the answer. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for coming on, RH. We're going to get timed out here. I think Zoom's going to cut us off, and I don't want to make you think we just ditched you.
Man, I appreciate y'all having me on, man. Anytime y'all want to talk about music, I'm happy to jump in where I can, man. I appreciate y'all having me on. This was fun.
Yes.
Glad we got to do it.
Yeah, next time we'll get our friend Ruben on here so you can meet him as well, and we'll do a four-way talk about some rock topics.
That sounds great, brother.
And go check these out. They're on Spotify, and you can get
them.
Thank you, sir.
Get them.
Get you some country fried.
Yes.
All right, brother. Thank you for joining us. All right, Wrap Up Show. For wrapping this one, we're going to say taters, Mick Brown style. Taters. All right, y'all.
Raise your horns high.